Welcome to True Wellness with Dr. D, the podcast where we explore what it takes to live with vitality, balance, and purpose. I am Dr. D, and each week I'll bring you powerful tools, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you thrive in every area of your life. From health and wellness to mindset and navigating life's challenges, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of true well-being. Be sure to check the show notes and grab your free copy of the True Wellness Checklist so you can get started on your journey to true wellness right away. Now, let's get started. Okay, what if living a regret-free life wasn't just a dream, but a decision? That's what we're going to talk about today. Today on True Wellness with Dr. D, I am sitting down with the brilliant and wildly creative Laura Clancy. She is the powerhouse behind Muffin Toppled coaching, Muffin Toppled the musical, and the art experience Enlighten Up. A coach, speaker, author, wife, mom, recovering accountant, award-winning champion power lifter. Laura helps her clients win at the game of life by breaking the rules that never worked for them in the first place. And, this conversation, it's full of real talk, unexpected wisdom, and the kind of laughter that heals. So if you're ready to shake off some shame, rewrite your story, and start living boldly, this is your episode to tune into. So, Laura, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Dr. D. It's so great to be here. We've talked about this for a while, but here we are. Yay.
I know. Well, you're such an inspiration because you have taken, we have so many women that we work with, like in my practice, and so many women who listen to this podcast where there is a lot of shame around our bodies. There's a lot of shame around, that's come from other places in our life, from our own conversations, from conversations we hear outside. And you have taken what I'll call these tragedies and are turning them into comedy so that we can actually work with the little gremlin voices that have taken over our lives in some respects. And that, I think, is pretty darn cool. And I want you to share with us how we can do that. And how you do that. How do you bring this all to life?
I think the regret-free life, I'm very negatively anchored. And I don't know if your audience knows what that means, but it means I'm sort of anchored in, I don't want that, so I'm going to do this. And that really incentivizes me. I think it's much better if you do come from a more positive anchor, like the well-played life. But for me, I'm leaning into the strength of who I am as a person and saying, if I don't do that, I will regret it. I don't like regrets. Yes. So for me, it's a motivator. It's an accountability partner. And it just really gives me a lot of power behind all the things that I say I want to do. Yes. And it can divergent. I mean, I'm very multi-passionate. I love stuff. I just love it. And I'm super curious. I believe that's one of our human skills that we're all born with. And I think we all need to stoke it every day. Find something to be curious about.
I love that. That's really good advice. Because when we come at life from that place of curiosity, you never know what's going to open up. Even when there's the bad things that happen, I personally try to be okay, so why is this happening? What can I learn from this? How can I actually use whatever this negative thing is to my advantage so that it propels me in life versus actually holding me back in life? Because what else can we have to do? We have two choices, right? We can either wallow in it or we can use it to win. I prefer to use it to win.
Yeah, I use it to win. But, something that I think you do much better than me, I can flip it very quickly. Very quickly. You were with me when I flipped it very quickly in May of 2022. Very quickly I flipped the script and made it something positive, if you will, as positive as it could be. We can talk about that in a minute. But I do think that what you do is you honor how you feel in the moment. And I'm really trying now to work on that piece where instead of just flipping the script right away, I take the time or leave space for the momentousness of big. Is that the right word? No. The hugeness of whatever event I'm going through, because sometimes tragedies really are tragic and we need to leave space to kind of process that, maybe not live in it or wallow in it, but certainly give it the space that it deserves. Otherwise, I guess you become toxically positive.
Yeah, well, there's like you can positive psychology the heck out of anything, but at the end of the day, if all you're doing is putting lipstick on a pig, you end up with all of that just kind of bubbling underneath, and that doesn't ever end up well. So there's a lot of power and value in actually making sure that we're experiencing the emotions that we're also intended to experience, right? I mean,
Agreed.
we both know Joan Rosenberg, and Rosenberg's book, 90 Seconds to a Life You Love, is all about what she calls the Rosenberg reset, which is engaging in that emotion. And it lasts about 90 seconds if you truly actually sit in the emotion and don't resist and fight the experience. So,
And one of the things too is my singing. As you know, my singing is like it's a byproduct of my dream,
yeah.
and that is something that I'm working on now with my voice coach Cindy Warren, where I have to. It's kind of acting 101. I have to go deep with the song, and I have to re-experience that in the moment so that I can take the audience on a journey. Whereas before, I was just trying to match pitch. But now I have to take that emotional trip myself. And one of the things we talked about was, if I don't go deep with the song, how can my audience? And I think that's why it's in the back of my mind right now, is like, honor that, really honor that. But again, you can flip the script and see both sides of it, and hold on to that cognitive dissonance and go through that 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Most songs, for example, are only 3 minutes. And by the end of the song, you're on a high note. So,
There you go. There you go. I mean, take us through, Laura. So, since we're talking about not living life with regret, I mean, you have had this extraordinary journey, right? Like accountant, champion power lifter. Now you're doing musicals. You're headed to New York City to perform. In fact, we'll give our guests, guys, stay on until the end. We'll give you the insight on how you can actually get to Laura's next performance. So tell us about that journey. Like, how did that even occur? It's like so wild end of the spectrum.
Well, I think it started when I was younger. I loved musical theater. When I lived in Seoul, South Korea, my parents took me to a community theater production of Guys and Dolls. And when the curtain opened, I'm not even sure there was a curtain, but in my mind there was a curtain, and that fugue and tin horns came on. I was hooked. I'm like, whatever they're doing, I want that. I was on stage with them, and I've always loved it. So when I graduated from high school, I did exactly what you think I would do. I majored in accounting, and it was the safe journey, and that there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it was the safe journey. I do know, and that we have to be secure at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid, and accounting was not hard for me. Both of my parents were accountants, and I had other dreams. I wanted to be a pilot or a zoologist, but
I wanted to be a zoologist when I was little too.
Did you really?
We were walking around like, what do you want to be? I'm like, I want to be a zoologist. I might have to hurt animals. I don't want to be that anymore.
Me neither. No, thank you. I'll just go to the zoo and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But accounting, was kind of easy because it was the first letter of the alphabet in that whole, selection of courses. And, it was actually kind of cool because it's an apprenticeship. So I learned how to handle certain things, which really worked well for my brain because I'm, creative and ADHD. And I certainly didn't think there was any money in artistry. And I think my brain is more of an artist brain for sure. But I just I didn't put the time and effort into singing. I was told as a child, don't sing, don't give up your day job. Didn't have a job. So I took it very seriously.
Right.
And so that was accounting. And then again, it goes back to, and this is definitely for your audience, know yourself well. I
Mm.
knew that I was really heavily influenced by that song Cats in the Cradle when I was little. I mean, little, like maybe
Uh-huh.
9 or 10. And I was like, I will never live, see, negative anchor. I will never be that person. And so when I got pregnant, I stopped working because I knew I'd put my job first, not intentionally, but I knew I would. So I actually became a stay-at-home mom. And I got heavy between high school reunions. So every 5 years, I'd lose weight because I was a fat cheerleader in high school. I was overweight, and so I never went back heavy to those reunions. And so in 2008, I basically said, I'm never losing this 30 pounds again. Again, negative anchor. I knew myself.
Yeah.
And then I started personal training school and I learned nutrition and training. And that's when that dream woke up again. It was a joke that during class I would, or during the gym time, I would joke about, I'm going to write a musical called Muffin Toppled, and it's going to have audiences laughing, crying, and losing weight. So it started as a joke. It started as a joke.
How
And
funny
because
is
it was
that,
so
right?
preposterous that, I wanted to be an author. I wanted to do all these artistic endeavors, and it was just ridiculous. But little by little, it started to become a reality. And in the meantime, I found out I was strong. And so I started competing. I think having a sport that you like, even if it's walking, maybe walking's your sport. And that certainly reduces your insulin. Excuse me. It reduces your insulin and all the things. It's not necessarily a fat loss buster, but it's a calorie burner,
Right.
and it reduces your insulin. So anyway, you pick your sport and do it, and just realize that that's what you do. That's your exercise. So always have something that's outside of your normal to do, and treat it like it's fun, like it's a fun fair.
Yes. Well, I want to talk about how you went from sort of this space of like self-deprecation with your body, right? And then how you actually transformed that into some magic.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm not still
Well,
self-deprecating.
we're all on a journey and we still continue on those journeys. But you've done something really powerful, right? Many of the women that we work with, like they'll get really stuck and they'll find themselves in this spiraling vortex of shame and guilt when it comes to their body and there comes to their body image. And you're like, muffin toppled. Let's laugh, let's cry, and let's lose weight. How did you make that mindset shift? Because that's where that gold is, right? That mindset shift and being like, okay, I'm not going to wallow in this. I'm going to turn this into something pretty awesome.
One of the things that I've realized now that I've done, I didn't know it at the time. So I've been doing this now for 15 years. I became a fat loss expert after school, after I graduated from National Personal Training Institute. I was really intrigued by fat loss. But what I realize I've done is I every day, not every day, I have taken time off. You've known when I've had my wine years and my chip years after that May 2022 event, I definitely gained weight again. I've never gained back that 30, but what I've done is I try to show up every day and honor my promises,
Mm.
and not worry about what the scale said. I mean, I'm a woman of a certain age. I hate it when people say that, but I'm going to say it anyway.
We're getting
How about this? I'm postmenopausal, and so I never thought that I'd get down to a certain weight, but I knew I could show up every day and do the work. And no matter what the outcome was, I did the work. And so and this is where I have to struggle with myself. Some days I beat myself up for not doing enough. And then I'm like, for God's sake, you ate this many calories, you watched your macros, you took a walk. Who cares what the scale says?
Right.
If you do the work, then there's not as much shame. And then if you don't do the work, tomorrow's another day, right? Like it's not the first Monday of the month and the first of the year. And, all these, they're great little incentives, but the long haul is the long haul, and realize that they're little there are little escape hatches along the long haul, but it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Dr. D. I just wanted to remind you that you can get started on your true wellness journey. Go ahead and check the show notes and grab a link to the True Wellness Checklist. Now, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, I love that. What you just said sparked something for me too, in that you said when you're doing the things, even if the scale doesn't move, there's still that sense of satisfaction. But when we're not doing the things, it's almost like that out of integrity plays a really big role, right? Like we've got to be proud for the good work that we're putting in. And then we also have to be self-responsible and honest when we're like looking for a result, but not putting the work in. It reminds me of, I'll take it out of sort of body and weight, but it reminds me of how, I'm always like, I'm going to have real good boundaries with my kids. And when I say no, right? And then something happens and I like give in. And then every time I give in with my kids, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, it's whatever. But why is that? It's because really I'm out of integrity with myself and what I said I was going to do it myself. And then I have to reconcile that before I can actually move forward. And it's when we do that, when we can reconcile with ourselves, be honest and truthful with ourselves, like not bad and wrong, like not beat ourselves up, but be honest and truthful with ourselves. Like, look at that. I've got to work on why I can't keep that boundary there. There's, that's a powerful place to come by. Then you're not taking out your guilt and shame and anger and frustration on everybody else that's around you.
Yeah. And that proves that the more you know yourself, like that journey to know yourself, it's deep, and everyone is a layer of the onion. You're like, aha. And then next week it's the new aha, right? And it's not, exactly. I always found with my clients, this is why I scope crept. I mean, we haven't even talked about, I'm a licensed massage therapist, and people are like, why are you doing all this stuff? Because I realized it wasn't about what people ate. It was about why they ate it. I mean, that is, what is making you go? Is it the call of the chip? Is it what is it in you that's making you desire that? And we have energy that we need to place somewhere. And for some people, it's just food. It's where you put your energy. And then some food, if you put it in food, some food just takes you down a really bad thing. It's not even about weight. It's about, you talk about this all the time. Processed foods have zero energy, lots of calories.
Yes.
They do fuel your body, but they don't fuel it well because it's not energy that they got from the sun or, natural foods give you energy. Processed foods do not.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we are what we eat. Like literally what we eat becomes us, and our body is constantly renewing and changing and shifting based upon what it is that we're using as fuel. So it does make a big deal.
Which then proves too, it's never too late. It's constantly changing. So the things that you've done that were bad for your body, here I'm trying to get it, bad for your body, it's erased after a certain number of days, years, hours, whatever. It gets erased over time. So there's no time like now.
Yeah, and now is always the best time. Now, right? No putting stuff off. And you've been through so much in your life. You keep alluding to like the last several years, but I know you as the woman who defies nature. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, because we all want to defy nature a little bit. We all think about tragedies and real stuff happens to people in life. And you've been through quite a few with Mother Nature at the helm. And sometimes it knocks us down, but you have found a way to not get knocked down.
Yeah, I will. I'll lead with the flood. Why not that? The first flood. The first flood of 2006. So it was June 25th of 2006. I remember that because, and I'll explain why in a second. So my husband and I were out in DC. We were doing a silent auction. Uh, we ate with some friends at a silent auction a restaurant.
Mhm.
And it was it was raining, and it had been raining for like 10 days. So there were police cars driving boats down the DC, the DC streets. That's how much it was raining. It was really a big thing. And we got a phone call when we got out of the restaurant, and it was my mom. And she said, "Come home, your house is flooded." We were like, "Huh?" So we got home, and basically our storm drain got overwhelmed, and the water in the street just kept rising until it came in our house. Now we lived in Arlington, so we're not in a flood zone. A lot of people now are dealing with floods that aren't in flood zones, but and it took out my car, it took out my mom's car, and I drove my mom home, and she said, "Happy birthday." That's how I know what day it was, because it was like, wow. And then I came home, and my husband and I picked as much stuff up out of the basement and the entry level as we could to save it, including our photos. And at like 3 a.m, my husband's like, "Oh my God, the roof is leaking." So that was a very expensive flood, very expensive. Insurance didn't handle it. I lost my car. I mean, everything. It was a tough summer. But here's what's good. So let me actually take you through the bad. The next day I got up, and I definitely had what I called situational depression. I don't know what it's really called, but I would go through the week, and there were days where I could just barely make it through. And I remember, like, that was a Friday or Saturday night into Sunday. And I remember people walking by going to the metro, like nothing had happened. So their life hadn't changed, and mine was completely upside down. I lived with stuff from the basement that survived, and the entry level. On the next two levels, we had a split level, and I just lived in chaos for 18 months. It was not good. So in 2019, when the second flood happened, it was like 9 a.m, and I was looking out the window, and I'm like, "This is a lot of water. I'm going to go and take some action." Because in my mind, if it ever happened again, I knew what I was going to do.
Right.
And what I was really fighting was my husband, who wasn't home. I was fighting his idea that everything was fine and I was overreacting. And so I ran out. I got soaking wet. I drove my son's car up the street. By the time I came down, the water was over the sidewalk. I moved 2 cars up in the driveway as much as I could. And then it was over, halfway up the yard. And then I called my son. He was upstairs, and he thought, I'm like, "There's an emergency. I need your help." And he came down. He thought there was a fire, which is kind of funny, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I think the reason, and then I laid down when the water came and I pushed up against the door. I think it was a defining moment for me, because I went against what my neighbors would think. I went against what my husband would think. And so I kind of feel like the girl that laid down and pushed up against Mother Nature was not the woman that stood up. It's like, because of that first flood, I had an action plan for the second, and I took it. That goes in alignment with, I said I'd do it, so I did it, no matter how it looked or felt. It felt really bad. And I think about how much that was July 8th of 2019. I think about how much that has affected my life, because before I would see things and maybe not take action or wonder what people would think. So for me, that was a huge defining moment. So there's that tragedy. And I've been thinking about it as I'm working on this play. It also led to a story you may not know, but it's actually come up in my life again, where I was at a retreat in June of 2021, and it was in a house in Florida, and a little girl was in the pool, and all of a sudden she was jumping around. All of a sudden I saw her doing the mermaid, and I'm like, "Oh my God." So I threw open the door, ran, and grabbed her and pulled her out of the pool, and she was drowning. And if I had worried about what people thought, she may not be here. And I've never really told that story, but I saw her mom about a year ago, and I cleared it with her, because it's not my story. It's the little girl. Well, it is my story. But I know. So when you start taking action that feels like you just have to do it, but everybody else is because we women, we worry about what other people think. I don't know what our problem is, but
Yeah.
anyway, do what you know you have to do and make apologies later if you really need to. Like, we know what we have to do. And I think about how that led to that event.
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful. But that wasn't it, right? Because you had another
oh, no,
mother.
that wasn't it. I hopefully the final of the final.
The last one. There are no
The last one.
you're done.
We were actually at the same place at the same time. I was on stage in La Jolla, California at a Bo Eason event. And you had just gone. You were the first person, I think, and you said your one true statement, right? Your one true sentence, which is a summarization of your story. And I got up on stage after you and I told my one true story, which is Mother Nature picked on the wrong water sign that day, because it's a story about my flood, the second one. Well, all of them. And I sat down and my watch started to ring, and it was my husband, Jim, and he never calls. So I went out into the foyer, and I had all these texts. Laura, where are you? Oh my God, there are fire trucks in front of your house. So I called my husband, and he's like, our house burned down. And I argued with him. I'm like, we're not fire people, we're flood people. I mean, I couldn't even, and then I went through, well, your parents' house burned down. How is it possible 2 houses have burned down in the fire? I mean, I just went through all these things. And as you referred to, Joan Rosenberg was there, and I was lucky enough to be able to process a lot of this with her. I'm like, I just can't process this. But I flipped the script very quickly, because I could see where after that second flood and my son said, you need to move out. This is going to happen before the next 13 years. And I'm like, it's expensive to move. I'm emotionally attached to this house. All the possessions we have, I don't want to go through it. Look, the house kicked me out, right? Like I saw it for what it was. I flipped the script very quickly.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary that you've become very facile, right? Unfortunately, through not so great experiences, but you've learned to be like, okay, I've gotta change this. I can't stay in it. And you have created miraculous things out of each and every one of those events. I mean, look, you're going to be performing in New York City. Like, how exciting is that?
Yeah, it's very exciting. And your audience can do it too. They really can. It just takes I mean, that goes back to 2006. And who was I before that? I was somebody who was struggling with, who I was in the world. Is it us? Is it them? Is it me? Right? Like all those feelings you feel in your 30s and 40s and raising kids. But it's just little increments every day. If you get better every day over time, you become a powerhouse. And even then you struggle. I mean, I struggle.
Yeah.
I still struggle, of course.
Yeah, it's because we unpeel that layer of the onion. I always tell my clients, like, hey, just sit back and relax, because it's just a journey, right? We're going to unpeel and unpeel. We just get to unpeel new and exciting things and grow in new and exciting ways, because we're never really staying the same. But the more we resist the growth, the more painful I think it is, unfortunately. So
I agree. I think it will keep coming back until you recognize it and say, okay, I see this. Let's move on. And, you hear a lot of people talk about healing the generational, the wounds. And I think that's a lot of it. It's come down through epigenetics. It's come down through, just the way our parents talk to us, and their parents talk to them, and their parents talk to them. Mm-hmm. And it's up to us to kind of heal that for ourselves as well as the next generation.
Absolutely. It's so true. So what would you say for the women out there who are in this space where they're looking at their muffin top and they're really upset and, mad at themselves? Or, I mean, we've got people who are so upset with the way that their body looks that they're doing drastic things like cutting themselves open to change their bodies.
Well, I definitely would not. I understand. I just went to an event in January, or actually the end of December, where they were even talking about GLP-1s. And it was, I personally wouldn't do it. I think most of my clients are not at that point. They made a real, um, um, some people cannot seem to do it on their own, but I believe everybody can do it on their own. How about that? I would choose myself and taking power over myself than a drug or being cut open. That said, I know some people feel they have to do that. And I respect that. I do respect that. I've known some people that have done it. I would also say, based on another modality that I learned, PDTR, proprioceptive deep tendon reflex, that scar tissue, and NKT as well, neurokinetic. Anyway, I know so many techniques.
Modalities.
Like I said, right? So many modalities, but scar tissue affects other things. So I'll give you an example. So this goes to the gastric bypass. Just realize this. When they cut you open to do that, it could shut something else down. So it could create, even that can create something else. There's also, with gastric bypass, it makes it, it makes it smaller, and then you can't uptick your B12. So people that have that have B12 deficiencies. So just be aware, anything that you do has a risk to it, as opposed to the natural, slow way of eating food and recognizing that food is fuel. That's all it is. The weight is the byproduct. Your weight, and your body's just inflamed if you're eating the junk. So, but we all, we all want to do it. It's like, I'll start on Monday, or tomorrow always seems like it's a better day. So I'm not sure if I went off track from your question, but I really recommend finding something that works for your body and feeling better. The byproduct is the weight loss. The byproduct is fitting into your clothes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it is about self-acceptance. Like, it is about making friends with your body. We did a workshop on this not so long ago, for Self-Made Wellness, but it is about making friends with your body. And when we make friends with our body, we think about our body differently. We treat our body differently. We accept our body differently. And when we do that, it gives a whole new mastery and facility over allowing ourselves to really serve our body from a place of love versus a place of punishment.
Amen.
I think
because if you're punishing yourself, you're inflaming yourself. Absolutely. And the more you're inflamed, the more that cortisol is up, the more you're going to retain the bad stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I let's talk about how we came, and I was like, Laura, you've got to be on the podcast. And it's because I love the way that you bring humor to all of this. So do you want to share with us a little bit about what you created out of the humor around our bodies and our weight and all of that?
Yeah, sure. You mean the song, or do you mean the story behind it?
Well, do you want to tell the story and the song?
I'll tell the story, and then I can sing the song. So yeah. I met Dr. D when we both went to a Bo Eason event. He helps business owners write a story so that people can see your true nature and decide that you're their coach. And I was saying that it woke up my dream. So my dream went dormant for a while, and I went dormant for a while. I had that graduation mentality and kind of gave up on life, especially when I became an empty nester and I was going through menopause. I just didn't know I was going through menopause, because you're going through it, you don't realize it. And my dream got reawakened, and I probably it was after the fire. So probably about a year and a half, maybe just a year after, I went to a Bo event, and we were working, but I got in a day early, and I figured out, what do I do? What do I really do? Because I didn't really know what I did. I had morphed so much. Now I didn't even have personal training equipment anymore. Like, COVID took away my clients, and then they came back, and then the fire took away my equipment. And so that was kind of it for that. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I want to do? How about that? Mm-hmm. And I realized there was this, and I had colored paper. I mean, I made it fun. And one day I spent, and so there was this musical dream, this, Muffin Toppled the musical. And right after I figured all of that out, I went the next day, and your friend and mine, Heather, came up to me and said, Laura, you're writing a musical, right? And I said, yes. And she said, I'd like to introduce you to Drew. You know who he is, yes? And I said, no. And she said, he's the guy that wrote that song with Christina Perri called Jar of Hearts. Well, I had just heard it the day before at the Target. And I'm like, oh my God, I knew I found my songwriter. So Drew and I started working together in February of 2023. And we've been writing a lot of songs. And he believes very firmly that you sing your own songs. And remember, I was told as a child, don't give up your day job. So I started singing with him. Well, singing, practicing. I mean, I'll tell you, I was not good at that. I was kind of treating it like maybe I'll sing. I hated to hear myself sing. And every so often I would be like, I'm ready to up my game. I'm ready to up my game. And little by little, here we are 2 years later, and I've been working on my voice. I realize it's an endurance sport. It's not like strength training. Strength training is every other day, 2 or 3 days a week. You have to take a day of rest in between. This is more like running. You have to do it every day. And so I do vocal warm-ups every day. But Drew and I have been writing songs for the musical. And I scaled back and created an experience called Life's a Game Up Yours. And it's got 3 songs and then personal development. You helped me with it. Remember, you helped me figure it out because I'm not really super good at logic. And you helped me bridge the gap between the songs and what I wanted to teach. And then it's got some Reiki. And then the next project, as it turns out, toward this musical is this cabaret style event that I'm doing in New York City. And I started to string together the words and I mean the songs, and I couldn't do it. So somebody showed up in my life from this mentorship that I'm in. It's called Theater Makers Studio. Her name is Trine Paris. And she said, I'm really good at stringing stories together between, it's called jukebox musicals, but it's my original songs. And I'm like, well, go at it. And so she's written it for me. You know, I've written the songs, I sing the songs, and I've become the unexpected artist because in order to put something on, on stage in New York City, it's extremely expensive, like $250,000.
Yeah.
And so I became part of this festival. Anyway, show up for your life and things start showing up for you.
Isn't that
I guess would
funny?
be
Like,
part of it.
all these things kept on saying, you're on the right
They did.
track, or here you go, here you go,
Yeah.
here you go. And all you needed to do was listen into the little voice that said, hey, I'm your dream. Come back to me. You know?
Yep. And I'll tell you, your audience may like to know about this. I started with I don't do New Year's resolutions. I do them in September, but I re-look at them in January. And I found something called the 12-week year. Now, I don't want to overwhelm your audience with one more thing, but what it helped me do was it helped me find the 3 things I wanted to do that quarter. And I had a date for one of them, but the other 2, one was being 132 pounds for a powerlifting meet, which would be a different weight class, and compete at age 59 because I'm getting ready to slip into another age class.
Yes.
And then the other one was become a better singer. And then the final one was to start writing Muffin Toppled the musical because I had talked about it long enough. And sure enough, I started singing every day. So it told me what to do. I came up with a task list every day and I did it. And then all of a sudden, within 2 weeks, I had a date for New York City with this festival. And then I also had a singing date in Los Angeles, and they coincide. It's the same week. And I have 2 powerlifting meets, one at 59 and one at 60. And I'm working toward being 132 pounds. So I really think if you really sit down and say, this is what I want to achieve, and it's really okay to just do one, it's probably better to do one. I just get really bored with one, but if you really drill down into one, you can really get a lot done and just start doing the task to make that thing a reality. And things, like you said, start showing up 100%.
I love it. Showing up is really important. Hey, Laura, will you share with us one of your songs?
I will. How about if I will share the one that started this, It's called Get Rid of It. Let's see if you can hear me. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
My closet is like my diet, full of fat-free clothes, but I'm in shape, round as a shape, And when I suck it in, no one knows. Size 6s in my closet make me feel like I can run like a savage and only eat cabbage. Nothing changes, so I want to quit. But if it doesn't fit, get rid of it. You're not in high school anymore. And your driver's license is a big fat lie, 'cause you can't outrun your fork. There's no reason to let your wardrobe get you down every morning. If it doesn't fit, get rid of it. That teal crochet sweater ain't coming back in style. And that hula skirt, it just doesn't work. That tank top's for a child. And that leopard print's too wild. There's not much here you've worn in a while. So if it doesn't fit, get rid of it. We're not in high school anymore. And your driver's license is a big fat lie, 'cause you can't outrun your fork. There's no reason to let your wardrobe get you down every morning. If it doesn't fit, get rid of it.
I love that. It's so awesome. But it's so true, right?
It's so true.
Because what we do is we self-deprecate because we're disappointed with where we're at, but then we have all of these reminders in our environment that they're just like little nudges that keep pushing you. It's like the knife that keeps stabbing you in the back. And what we realize is like, oh my gosh, we could just get rid of the knife and then we don't have that anymore. when we're constantly reminded about what we don't have or what we haven't accomplished or what it was every single moment, what we're really doing energetically, right, is creating a bigger space from where it is that we want to do,
exactly,
where it is that we want to be. So that's so powerful. Thank you. And your voice is so amazing. Tell us how can I know we probably have a lot of our audience in the tri-state New York area. When is your New York performance and how can they find out about it? We will have a link in the show notes, everybody. But in case you can't look at the show notes, Laura, please share that with us.
Okay, it will be at Next Step Theater Fest, and that's NEXTSTEP THEATREFEST, and theater is spelled with RE. Next Step Theater Fest. It's going to be at the Girl Theater, and it's going to be a reading or a small performance. It may be me in a boombox. I don't know. I may be in the dark. It's a reading, and it's June 5th. Let me look at these dates. I'm not absolutely sure.
5th through June 7th.
It's June 5th at 5 p.m. So they're kind of weird times because it's a festival. Okay. And on June 7th at 1 p.m. Okay. And there will be a link at that Next Step Theater Festival. There is a link out there where you can go and get tickets. They're free. I'm not doing anything with equity, and I don't know all that. There's so much to learn about Broadway and all the stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I call it a reading. Right. It's a performance. So.
Yeah, you guys, if you're in New York City, a free event, June 5th at 5 p.m., June 7th at 1 p.m. What a fantastic opportunity. And what is the name of the show?
Oh, it's called Weightless, How to Become Lighter Than Your Baggage.
I love it, love it, love it. All right, Laura, give us a between 1 and 3 key things that, based on your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience, your roller coaster life, that will inspire and empower our women as they, take on what it is that you've talked about today.
I think, love yourself where you are. Recognize you're on a journey. I was on a journey. I was on a fat loss journey. Honestly, it was kind of shallow. All I cared about was how I looked at high school reunions. But it's been one of the deepest journeys I've taken. I've gotten a lot of wisdom out of it. And that goes to self-love. Love where you are now and still continue to go where you're going. Never give up, never graduate, keep going. That would be one, I guess. Number two, comedy and tragedy are really the same thing, right? Like sometimes tragic things, it's like why people laugh at funerals because it's so uncomfortable. It kind of makes you laugh. Crying and laughter are the same thing. It's releasing an emotion. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity, but try your best to find the positive out of the bad things that happen in life. I have another song. It's a more serious song. It's called I Dodged a Bullet. And it's like, I thought I missed the mark, but I really dodged the bullet. So I would say that too. Just really try to flip the script when you can. And then I think just always be curious. Always pull that inner child out and see where you're going. Kind of look at it like, wow. Because when you were a kid, everything you did was like new. And we age and everything feels old and we feel old and we feel like, oh, I've done that. And it gets boring. Or maybe our estrogen is gone and we just don't care anymore. Find something that you care about or make something interesting. Look at it in different ways. So I think those would be my 3 points.
I love them. They are definitely pearls and there's so much wisdom in all of them. So Laura, thank you so much for being here with us. Those of you can check out Laura. Laura, what's your website?
Oh, it's Muffin Toppled, MUFFINTOPPLED.com.
Awesome. So you guys, you can learn more about Laura and check her out there. And those of you who are in the tri-state New York area, check her out at the Theater Festival on June 5th and June 7th.
I'm going to give one more plug. If you don't mind, I'm going to give one more plug. The other thing, the byproduct was the singing. So I've now launched myself as an artist. I'll be on Spotify soon, probably after this summer, under an artist name of Enlighten Up, which is the name of my, one of my songs. So that's kind of cool. I'm really excited about that. I'm more excited about that because that's in the near future than even the musical. So
yeah, I love it. Well, we'll all make sure to listen in because your songs are witty, they're funny, they're inspiring, and your voice is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. This is Dr. D reminding you to tune into your body, connect with what matters, and embrace the journey to true wellness. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to redefine their health. Be sure to grab a copy of the True Wellness Checklist right in the show notes. Let's keep redefining wellness and empowering change together. See you for the next episode.